came to this booth in an excruciating pain. I've been in excruciating pain for weeks. And I was walking around and I could barely even stand it. And I stopped here at this booth, and it's amazing. After 15 minutes of being with this equipment, I'm completely pain-free. I got one treatment, and I was good for at least 35 minutes without any pain. For me, that's like miraculous. I'm so grateful.
In the matrix, in that ether, and that's generating these longitudinal waves. That's why they're moving longitudinally, coming out from this counter space. So those two waves are canceling each other out, and when you have that wave, a longitudinal wave, bounce back on itself because it's going into counter space and coming back, that's time reversed. So the time is reversed in this way, and then it coheres with your cells in the DNA all the way down to the mitochondria. And all the way down to the DNA, and it brings back the blueprint, the original blueprint, so it restores the DNA to its original memory.
Okay, okay.
Yeah. You already have the scales and put them on the table because literally you feel like you're floating.
There's a feeling of lightness.
Levity. Right?
Correct, absolutely. But then what I was mentioning, so ventilation cycles change. It was about like 2.5 on the exhale that was longer from what I started to towards the end where I was. And also what I was mentioning to you is the tactile sensory awareness changed. Like I had my hands on my jacket, so I was able to feel more of the little the material of it as the session progressed. So anyway, just a little bit of kind of
and what do you think about the levity, like the weight?
But there's a sense of lightness, but at the same time there's a grounded lightness, which is an oxymoron there.
Right, yeah.
But that's the way I can describe it. Like you feel grounded, but at the same time you feel light. And yeah, I think that's kind of like how I would describe that feeling. It's an interesting feeling.
Nice.
So anyway,
Awesome.
That was in the shoulder, like literally, I could feel.
And if he was to set it down and not touch it, it would come from the center, which is really interesting to press out.
So what's happening?
When you're not touching it, it goes opposite.
Yeah.
Instead of coming like that.
Well, it comes forward and it collapses in the center. Bubble collapses. The amount of energy in there is reaching almost megawatts of potential. Gigawatts of potential. This is how your mitochondria generate enough voltage potential from the ATP production through the hydrogen peroxide, and it's actually a cold fusion reaction inside of your ATP. Every single mitochondria has about 1 lightning bolt's worth of charge. We have gazillion watts of power inside every cell in our body, all through this process. So what happens is this collapse, all those electrons and all that energy potential goes right into this single point and disappears. Goes into the counter space. That counter space, when you hit a piece of metal right here, let's say you had a sheet of aluminum or copper or whatever, and boom, when that thing hits it, it makes an explosion like a volcano. And it has so much energy that this is where a cold fusion reaction happens. And all these elements come out of whatever this element was. This is pure aluminum. All of a sudden you've got carbon is the biggest one, but and certain elements will turn into other elements, but it's basically a cold fusion reaction. And what Pons and Fleischmann and all those cold fusion and LENR guys have been doing all those years never understood that that's what was happening inside the metal matrix, because metal is basically like a sponge. So hydrogen and all these other elements can go in there. When you cause one of these toroidal, fractal toroidal collapses within the matrix of metal, blows it all apart. And then coming out of here is all the same elements that the sun makes. So you have the power of the sun within a nano segment of a metal matrix. And this happens all the time.